There's no countdown.
Oh my gosh, I forgot to do a countdown. Should
That's
I go
hilarious.
back down and restart us?
No. That's so funny.
Here, let's all wait. Boop, boop, boop.
Do that for 20 seconds.
That feels like a countdown.
We're used to Jerome setting that up.
Yes, Jerome's out of town, and I am doing the things he normally does, and I haven't done them, and they're so.
And we're on a new night. And a new time.
All the things.
Lots of changes for us.
Everything is a little wonky.
Yeah.
It's a good word for it.
Yeah. Welcome, everyone.
Yes, welcome.
Yes, welcome in. As always, friendly reminder, please feel free to join in our conversation. We would love to hear from you. We also realize that we have recently changed our time, so it might take a moment for you all to find us. So that's okay. But when you do watch us, even if you're watching it after we've streamed this, please feel free to let us know what you think of everything. And I have to do stuff in the background, so somebody else needs to introduce the topic.
Okay. Anthony's muted.
I'm reorganizing my screen so I could actually look at you guys and the research. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Certified Life Coach Institute's CLCI Live. We are back. New time, new day. No Jerome for now, but he will join us next week. And just a general announcement, we will continue doing our lives every Wednesday now at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Last week, actually, before I do that, be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Interact with us. Give us your questions, your feedback. If you're in Facebook and YouTube land, we're always appreciative when you guys interact with us. Last week, we talked about Are You Still Passionate? And how to sustain or reignite our passions. This week, and I guess is this the topic for the month, Know Yourself 101, how to find out what you really want. And is what you really want what you want, or is it something else that someone else wants? Why does it even matter to know what we want?
What you really, really want. I'm sorry,
that
that was a priceless moment. It happened.
But yeah, that's what we'll be talking about this week. How to find out what it is you really want. Because knowing that, ideally, that would probably guide your intentions, your desires, your goals, so that you can actually achieve what you want. And once you achieve what you really want, then you'll be happy forever. And I don't know, your life will be fulfilled. Does that sound accurate?
Guaranteed. It's a guarantee.
Yep.
So throughout it, there was like a theme and thread through the information we were reading. Did you guys pull on a thread?
The thread I saw was like having a purpose, or eudaimonia, like having a purpose that transcends yourself. I don't know if that's what you really want, though. Like, that's something that a lot of people say that you should want. That's what I'm reading, is that these people or these authors or these podcasts are saying that you ought to want that because of XYZ reasons. But what do we really want? What do you see people wanting in their lives? And does that contrast with the ideal, which is being purpose-driven and transcendent and thinking of the betterment of your fellow person? I'm seeing a bit of a contrast there.
I felt like the common thread was the values, personally.
Mm-hmm.
That finding out what you want is going to be based on your values, which means that it's going to be different for everyone.
I want to invert that. I mean, that's what they say. Yeah, obviously that is the main thread. That what you want should be based on your values. What I think I tend to see in life is the opposite, is that people's values are based on what they want, and then they try to justify that.
I think though we're putting the cart before the horse, even like in this, like why use the word really want? Like, can we start there? Like, why? Like, can we separate? Like, talk about what the difference between like maybe knowing what you want, like what you really want. Like, why is that word important in this?
It signifies that there's a deeper connection or deeper thing that is actually motivating you. For example, we know that most people in
Desire.
Western,
Yeah.
we know that most people in Western society, they want money. I mean, they obviously want money because they work jobs. What do they really want when they want money, though, is, you know, a variety of things. Stability could be one of them. I'm thinking of like I'm thinking of the people who like really want money, whose sole motivation is to make as much money as humanly possible. What they
But there's something behind that,
Yep,
right?
I've
Like
been there.
you're
Yeah.
seeing a symptom, like you're seeing a symptom of something else, right? That is a symptom of a deeper something.
Yes.
That's not what is truly motivating them. There's something behind that. The money does something for them. There's a reason. It's not just like I woke up today and I've decided to collect the most monies, and like, not that I'm ever going to use it or spend it. I just want to be the man with the most monies. But there's always a deeper reason for doing that. So like, I think one of the big things we need to differentiate is the difference between like want and need, right? Because there is this kind of like looking at it, like, does want come once you have everything you need?
I mean, I think people will
Yeah.
activate a want in front of sometimes what they need. I mean, look at addiction, right? Gambling. They need to pay their rent, but they want to gamble. Let's say they're playing the craps table. They want to play the craps table more than they want to pay the rent. And so there's the want and the need, and the want trumps the need. And yeah, go ahead.
But in general, Brooke, are you saying that in order to have wants, you got to have your basic needs met?
I think, I mean, if we're talking,
I think if we're
to
talking
some degree,
balance,
right?
if you're
I mean, maybe
balanced
not.
in your life and you're fulfilling your life, yes, balance I think is helpful.
I think that they influence each other though. Like, I think if I am a person who, so like if we're looking at like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? Which is physical needs, so food, a place to sleep, water, air, right? Safety, like feeling safe, love and belonging, and like, so this is as we're going up. Once we have the physical needs met, we go up from there. We meet safety. Going up from there, we meet love and belonging. From there, it's esteem, and the top one is self-actualization. And that's like the smallest part of the pyramid, right? So you kind of, I think though, you can be in the bottom of that pyramid, right, and be wanting love, right? You could be trying to figure out how to meet your needs of feeding yourself every day or feeling safe, but in that be wanting love, right? And be wanting something that is higher up in that pyramid,
for sure,
as it were. As we like continue into this, I know it's going to move into purpose and values, but I just think it's important to think about like that needs piece and that wants piece.
But I think they
and
maybe
I mean, they are
right?
similar, but also different.
They kind
right?
of coexist in that space as you're describing the wants and the needs. I mean, really, as a human, an animal, we need care, we need connection, we need, self-preservation, we need love, but we also can want it. So what would that difference be?
That's a good question.
The difference between wants and needs? I think it's hard to say, but I think needs are at some point like something we require for us to feel like just normal and happy. And like not crazy or panicked or all of the things that can come, like peaceful. Let's use that word, peaceful. And I think that that's where like that needs piece kind of comes in, and then the wants piece is a part of all of that, right? But it can extend beyond the needs.
So we're talking really balance of both those perspectives. When we are talking about wants and needs, we're not oh, my accent almost came out. We're not talking about an imbalance on either direction, because that would direct us in a different way. That's what I'm hearing from us. What are you hearing, Anthony?
I've got an alternative definition.
Yeah.
A need is simply a desire that you cannot ignore, and a want is a desire that you can ignore. That's all it is. They're desires, but a need, when you get to need, is now you cannot ignore it, and that incorporates everything from the top to the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, because we obviously see people who pursue those things towards the top of the hierarchy while ignoring the things at the bottom to their own detriment. But they need that anyways, so they pursue it, and they end up, putting themselves in dangerous situations or ignoring their physical health or their safety in pursuit of those higher desires. But a need is anything that you just can't ignore. So at a certain point, like, you can ignore how hungry you are and how thirsty you are. But at a certain point, you need to address that, and then it becomes a need, and the desire cessates, and then you can focus on other things in your life.
So a want could be, I need to eat, right? A want could be, I want to have a nice juicy steak.
Yeah.
Versus a sustainable.
Yes. Those are some dueling wants in me, right? Like I'm hungry. I want to feel satisfied. And there are certain foods that feel indulgent to me that I love, that I know I will enjoy a lot of eating, right? And then, but that want will compete with another want in me, which is the want to be healthy, the want to maybe eat sustainably, the want to, eat in a way that is not just good for me, but good for the planet. And so like all of these other things come up. And so my immediate, like more like baseline, I want to say like kind of like primal childish want might be to go out and have In-N-Out, right? But my more like I guess adult want it has to override that, and it doesn't always, right? It doesn't always, but it more often than not, for me, I hope, would override that, and I would make healthy and smart choices instead of that more, I guess, sort of, I don't know why I think of it as like juvenile, but I guess it's just like there's less thoughtful want. It's more based in like immediate craving kind of thing. You know what I mean?
So I'm hearing it's what you want to give focus to, and maybe one instant you want to focus on that In-N-Out burger, whereas overall your hierarchy focus is being healthy and wanting better things in your body.
Yeah. Well, and now, the compromises, I'm typically not picking In-N-Out, maybe once in a while, but usually when I come back from vacation, that's what I pick. Like, what do you want to eat? Because I tend to eat very healthy on my vacations. Yeah. And so I like come home and I'd be like, I want French fries. But my compromise now is I still don't eat red meat, right? Like I still don't. So I get a grilled cheese and I get some French fries. And that's like the slightly better, healthier for me and my body, and also a more sustainable food choice for planet, because I'm not eating red meat again, which is so like these are the things. But it's interesting because it's not something I would have thought about when I was younger, like when I was even in my 20s or even in my teens. Mean, maybe I wanted to be healthy and skinny, but I didn't have all of the knowledge I have now, and I didn't have the same value system I have now that I think informs my choices more, and which is something we're scratching the surface of. And I think it makes it actually much easier for me to make those harder choices, because I want something that has a greater purpose, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it definitely
and
does.
kind of scratching this.
Yeah, when I was young, my value system was me, 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 me. Make me happy. What do I want? And didn't think about anyone or anything else. And it's completely different now. I'm not sure what happened. But it was quite the, pendulum swing. Yeah, it makes sense.
And I think it makes it easier to make, like, when we get into these values based wants that have a, what was the two terms they were looking at? The self there was hedonistic
The
and
hedonistic and then
Eudomia. No,
self-eudomia.
it's hedonism or eudomia.
self-transcending.
Self-transcending. There we go. So bigger than self,
Right.
wants.
Yeah.
Is really what that means.
Yeah.
And yes, that is, it definitely makes some of these choices a little easier, these wants a little more easy to make when they are not the, like, based more in that Maslow's hierarchical needs kind of thing. One of the things brought up in this that I thought was interesting that I think is good to talk about earlier on is one of the things that's said about having, like, a purpose or having more self-transcendent needs is something for people who already have everything else, like, who already have. So it's like for essentially people it's the same, people say the same thing, like having a purpose is for the people who are already rich, who are already have their stuff together, right? And everybody else is still on that treadmill, that hedonic treadmill, and they don't have the luxury of having purpose and wanting legacy and all of these things. Do you find that to be true at all?
No, wait, what are you talking about? That's not what it said at all. That's not.
I know it's not, but that's what other people might say.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say that is the opposite of what they said.
I think you're right on that. That is when somebody has found, or not found, but they're lost. They're lost in the survival place, because even those that, you listen to people that have nothing, but they had their family and they had their gathering and they felt fulfilled in that place, and they can still find purpose. It's that connection. I think still connection is a very important piece to all of this. Yes, purpose, yes, values, but it's the ability for connection that I think also helps round this conversation out.
Yeah. And the reading basically was saying that, it's a common misconception that you have to have all your needs met, and you have to, what Brooke said, basically, that's not what it is. And that purpose and connection and values are most important for people who are struggling, that actually makes the struggle more endurable.
Yeah. The resilience, the grit, all can be activated during that. What are you wanting to say, Brooke? Are you looking to say something?
Oh, I was looking at something, and then I turned to Anthony to say something to him. But he can't hear me because his headphones are on, so that's okay. No big deal. In this, though, so like I think we need to dive into, like, the values and discovering the values and figuring out how to actually figure out what you really want and how we can help our clients do that. There was one other bit of reading that was in there for us today, and I wanted to talk about it. And it's this concept of, I think it's called, like, the mimetic principle, or the
mimicking.
Yes, I mean, it's essentially that people, and I think this is very prevalent in social media, because I think it's a big thing when it comes because of social media and the type of social media culture we have now. And this is it's Rene Girard, I think is the historian who came up with this. But it's this idea that people look at other people and they mimic their wants based on what they're seeing other people want.
Yeah.
So I can see how this would absolutely be a thing with social media. I'm scrolling through social media and I'm looking at what this person wants, what they say they want, what they have. And now here I am going, I want that too. I wish I had that. I want that too. without really thinking about what we were scratching on, like why do you want that? Do you really what makes you want that? The mimetic principle definitely like devolves into like when you read about it into this like crazier thing with eventually it's called what is it, the scapegoat theory, where eventually people create violent acts thinking because they are, somebody has something they want and it excuses them doing it, and there's a whole thing. But I mean, the light scratching the surface with mimetic principle is this idea that we are definitely heavily influenced by other people and what we see around us. And I think now more than ever, because we are now more than ever surrounded by people and through social and through digital all the time, being inundated with the wants and the desires of others. What are your thoughts about all that?
Well, with social media, the problem is that it's only it's only a snapshot of the actual result of whatever it is. So perfect example is like a girl posts herself looking really fit. Well, you have no idea how she actually is experiencing her body. You don't know if she has body dysmorphia. You don't know if she's happy. You don't know. You just don't know. And this can be with anything. I see people, that travel a lot, or people that look like they have this perfect family. And the reality is you don't know what's actually going on. You're only seeing the snapshot of like, look how happy my life is because of this. Right. And so it's like, if you believe that, and then you chase that, and then you go, oh, there's actually that's not what it's like at all. Like what that person was showing was literally just like happy moments, but that's not actual happiness, or, that's not how I experienced whatever it is. I think that's part of the danger, is that everybody is constantly promoting whatever it is in their life as if it makes them happy, but it doesn't make everyone happy. And that person may not even actually be happy. It might just be for the show of it, because a lot of people, let's be honest, make money off the idea that they're good at something, or something is great in their life. And, we know how all these brand deals, we know how all these, sponsorships, we know how it works, right? They're not going to sponsor someone that looks miserable. So, yeah, I mean, social media is a very dangerous place for trying to find what might make you happy, or what you might want based on what other people claim.
Well, and I think it can lead to like a very empty pursuit, right? And I think that's like what a lot of this is, and why it becomes important. And it becomes important for us as coaches to ask that emotional relevance question when we have clients tell us what they want. And that's why this emotional relevance becomes so important. And it's our job to ask, well, why do you want that? Like, what is it that makes you want that? Why are you pursuing this goal? Why is this important to you? And really letting the client needle down that purpose and that reasoning and that emotional relevance, because I think otherwise it can lead to some real empty pursuit. Some like, I'm doing this and I'm doing this. I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm doing it because everybody else is doing it, and I feel like I should do it, right? And that's gonna, I think in the short term might keep them busy, and in the long term might lead to some dissatisfaction. Anthony, what are your thoughts back there?
Going with the mimetic desire, for example, the example that Jen gave with like the fitness influencer, like the mimetic desire is not to be athletic, it's to appear to be athletic, appear to be physically fit, and appear to have a lot of likes, or whatever, shares, likes on reposts on Instagram, social media, whatever. But there's also more common mimetic desires that you see, like just in general, that self-perpetuate. One of the biggest ones that you tend to see in civilized society is like the idea of marriage, having kids, being religious. Those are probably like the three big ones that you kind of just inherit because the people around you are doing the same thing and believe the same thing, so you feel like as if you have to do that as well. And a lot of people, I mean, there's entire subreddits dedicated to this and discussion boards about people who end up either getting married or having kids and then end up regretting it or feeling that's not what they really wanted, but their parents or their partner pressured them into feeling that way or being a certain way. But they get certain things out of that, and their actual desire is maybe the approval of their peers or their family or the people that they love. So when you're in a coaching session, not only just drilling down on, what it is you want, but all the negative things that they do that they don't like and they want to change or that make them unhappy, drill them down and ask them, well, what do you get out of it?
Yeah.
What benefit does this give you? And you might get initial pushback to saying, this doesn't benefit me. I want to be different. I want to do things that, bring me happiness. Well, you wouldn't be doing the things in the first place if they didn't benefit you some way. They fulfill a purpose or they help fulfill some sort of desire. So what is that you're desiring, and why are you doing things that make you suffer in the long term?
And there could be a lot of like shame or embarrassment, or buried down, kind of denial things, or things that people are scared to admit.
Yeah.
That's those moments when those things come up, right? But there doesn't have to be shame there, right? We might be, like Anthony mentioned, if you're scratching the surface, the real desire of that person is that they want, the approval of their family. They want to be accepted by their family. Well, how do you turn that into a value? Well, they value family, they value community, they value perhaps like, there not being friction in those realms more than they value, whatever the other thing, being independent, right? And being single. And so that's where it kind of came into this realm. And there doesn't have to be shame attached to that, right? There doesn't have to be embarrassment attached to that. And it might end up becoming a coaching session with them, if they so choose, where they go, okay, this might actually be something in myself I don't have to be scared to admit, right? And I kind of reframing my motivations because I'm attaching to what my true values are. It can also go the other way completely, right? Like, I don't want to do this anymore, right? Okay, and then that becomes a different coaching session. But I, as a coach, be open to it going either way, and just really be curious in identifying without judgment or attachment those motivations.
Many times though, I seem to discover that there's this common theme of like, if I admit that, then and it's usually something like a bad person, or I'm wrong, or something's wrong with me. And so that can be, that can
it's a judgment. They're making a personal judgment about themselves. Like, if I admit that, then I am this.
Right. And
which is not true.
Right. But they may not be able to go there that quickly. And so that may take multiple sessions to even let them entertain the thought of admitting that, just dipping their toe in the water for a second. Let's think about what it would be like to admit that for a second. You don't have to do it, but what would it mean for you if you did think that,
The thing we're talking about is allowing, the client coach relationship to have depth, right? It's not just staying on the surface. A lot of our coaches think, I've asked the question, they've answered it, now let's go on to the next question. Right. But what but all of you are describing is a more depth conversation, a more for the person to really tap into who they are and what meaning is for them, and going into that space of not having to rush things through, to not having to. Sometimes coaches feel like they have to prove that they are helping people, when they just need to have patience with the process.
Yes.
Of being present.
Yes.
With the person as they discover through the active conversation questions, the connection that we have with our clients to unfold. And so all of these word choices we've been throwing around, values and purpose and the mimic I can't even say that word. So mimic comes out, the copying of others. All of that plays a part into discovering who you are when you have that conversation. A lot of the times people, we've said this before, people don't even realize what's inside of them till they start talking.
Yeah. And sometimes they just need a safe space for them to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And pushing them, not even like necessarily pushing them, or just moving the conversation in any way when that moment hits is not what we want to do as coaches. We want to just simply keep the space safe and allow.
So like moving into, while we're in this coaching space, and I think we've transitioned into it nicely. I don't know if we've told anybody how to know what you really want at all.
I don't think we're going to.
I think we can start to sort of scratch the surface though, a bit. When we have a client come into, and this happens all the time, I've had this happen at some point with every client. At some point, right? Like at some point, if we're coaching them over multiple sessions, sometimes it's the first session, sometimes it's further in, where I'm like, well, what do you want to work on today? Like, right? Like what? And that is essentially saying like, what do you want? They so often will be like, I have no clue. I don't know. I have no idea what I want. And so this is kind of where this principle, this idea of like helping figure out what you want becomes very important. So how do we respond as a coach to that? I don't know what I want to coach on today.
I mean, you're kind of like taking on the role of like a genie, being like, just imagine I could grant any wish you want that is within reality. Like I can't make impossible things happen, but imagine I just could wave my hands and you would just have whatever you want without any barriers. What are some things that you would want? I'm pretty sure one client's wants are going to be different from the next client's wants. So they're going to have some idea of like, okay, if the world was my oyster and I could do anything I want, here are maybe some of the things I would like to achieve. Okay, well, I'm not a genie, nor am I really a consultant or, this magic person. So what are the things that are like in your control or within your power that you can work towards? If they really don't, I don't know. At that point, I'd be like, well, why are we here? What am I coaching you on?
See, I think a lot of times they just need a little more invitation to share, because usually when they don't know, there's something there. They just don't feel comfortable sharing it. They may think, oh, this might not be appropriate for coaching.
So
and
they're
so
lying.
not lying, but they're withholding a bit.
They also might be scared to say what they want. They might be feeling like what they. Oh, my connection's spotty. Sorry, guys. Is it working now? Okay, so they might be scared to say what they want. They might have several things kicking around inside their head. They don't know how to narrow down.
Yep.
They might be worried that you might pass judgment on what they want. They might not have like they might have like a big idea, like a big. Well, I want this. But they might not have applied the word want to what it is. It might be, so that's sometimes what I'll ask in a different way, right? Is there anything that anything that you wish was different, right? Is there anything, there's like other ways to ask this initial coaching. Because I've had it, especially when I'm coaching for submittable sessions, right? When I'm
She's talking about submittable sessions, meaning for evaluation.
And these are so that I can record it and I can submit it.
You froze.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Am I better now?
Yes, you ended on submittable sessions.
Submittable sessions, and then we didn't hear.
Okay, so submittable sessions, and so a lot of times they'll come in with me and they're like, well, they hadn't like sat down and thought, okay, I want to get coached. I want to get coached on this specifically. I've kind of roped them in, and now they're like, and so I would always have this moment in the beginning with them where I'm like, well, and then it's like, okay, well, all of the questions, then that's where my job, the questions come up where we sort of do this exploration. I love it, but I hate it at the same time. what was brought up in that Hidden Brain podcast we listened to, the what do you want on your headstone?
Yeah, I
I
have
think
mixed feelings about
there's-
that too.
I have mixed feelings about it. I have mixed feelings about it, and I don't know that I would introduce it in to ask that question in
Yeah.
a coaching session. There might be another coach that would, but
Do you care to share what the actual hypothetical was,
the what
so
do you
that
mean?
our listeners are left without context? What are we talking about? We're talking about a headstone.
Oh, like as a way to discover your purpose, as a way to discover like what you want out of your life, right? And what you want, how you want to essentially like decide what you do with your days each day. So a big part of that is pausing and asking yourself, well, what do I want my headstone
So
to
working
say?
backwards.
Like,
I
what do I
mean, you're at the end.
Yep.
What do you want the
Yeah.
end to be representative of you,
Mhm.
and then work backwards from that.
Mhm.
It's that concept of legacy, right? And it's what do I want people to say about me at my funeral?
Which I
Right?
also
Like
have mixed
that's-
feelings about, because I tend to try to not care about what people say about me. So that one doesn't really work for me personally. I get the intention of that question, but I'm pretty sure they're going to say whatever nice things they want to say.
It doesn't land on this. But that's the thing. It's like, so like we have to be careful like how we introduce these. But that's where this concept though, when we ask those kind of finality questions, right? And I'm sure Anthony is rolling. He has a whole, I'm sure has a whole other thought about all of this in general and how it's silly and arbitrary. But that's where this concept of a self-transcendent purpose becomes important, because then it can help us make choices that make us more resilient, right? That make us more capable of making the hard choices because we have a greater purpose in our lives. And that's where the idea of religion it can actually be very helpful to people, because it gives them a greater purpose. It gives them a hope, and people with hope tend to be more resilient and more capable of getting through harder things, which is why it's also crucial for people who don't have all their needs met to still have a higher purpose, right? And that higher purpose can come in a lot of forms. It can come in the forms of raising kids. I've got to be a good mom for my kid. I have to be a good dad for my kid. So that's what's getting me up and getting me out of bed every day, right? That is a purpose, and that is a purpose that gives somebody hope. And so like that exists, and that is outside of themselves, and gives them a reason to get up and keep going each day, which both Anthony and I, like, we had a moment in all this where we were like, it's kind of depressing at times, like when you get up, like, you know, you're not going to escape the grind, so how are you going to get through it? Like,
Yeah, Hidden Brain was a nice like neoliberal ideology stuck in there, where it's like, yeah, the best way to manage the grind and the fact that you're going to work for your entire life is to have therapy, so you can be a better worker.
There it is.
mind you, I think it was like a BetterHelp ad.
Yes.
That came up in it.
Yep. I remember it. I remember it.
Tainted the
Yeah.
whole thing, which was
Oh
funny.
my goodness.
But it's, I mean, yeah, it was like travel won't solve all your problems.
The
Like-
therapy will.
Doing things that make you happy and then you love are temporary and won't actually make you feel better. Therapy, though, can help, you know, be more resilient to
Talking
all
to
the horrible
someone.
things that.
Talking to
Mostly.
someone is what you need to be happy. Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to this idea of like having purpose and helping our clients sort of identify, I think purpose is a big word. Purpose might be a
Mhm.
loaded word. I think it's the concept of
Yeah.
values is important, and everybody has
Yeah.
values. Everybody values something, even Anthony.
I don't know what that means.
I just see Anthony as being, you know, wanting to be above the idea of having any kind of values. But he, in fact, does every
Anthony
job.
values
So-
efficiency. I can tell you that.
Is that what's going to be written on my headstone?
And he was efficient.
I'll concede that I have values, but I'm of the mind that your desires inform your values. It's not the other way around. Values don't inform your desires. I think people like to delude themselves that is the case.
I don't see a huge difference, truthfully. I mean, I do
So-
and I don't. But I agree with you.
Desire is something that like you don't really have a whole lot of control of, and I'm talking about like your subconscious things that are prior to you intellectualizing about them or reasoning about them or making, thoughtful choices to be resolving to be one way. So like a person who who has a turn in their life, maybe they were very self-motivated, egoistic. They have a turn. Let's use Mr. Scrooge as an example. Ebenezer Scrooge from Christmas Carol. Let's pretend the ghost stuff didn't happen. He's just a guy who woke up one day and resolved to be better.
Okay.
I mean, you see that happen all the time, but people resolve to be different and they make choices to be different, but their desires are counter to that resolve. And I've seen that personally with like family members of it, like who have addiction, for example. They have a desire to keep living the life that they do, but their resolve and their value is to not to be that way and to be a person who is there for their family or makes better and healthier decisions for themselves. And they're constantly at odds with this one desire to pursue, their addiction, we'll say that, versus their desire to be a healthier, happier person.
I think that's a way oversimplification.
What was the premise again?
What I'm saying is that your values and desires are different, and your desires often inform what your values are. And I know I kind of just.
I think it can be switched.
I'm trying to make this more tangible. So,
way.
like, I understand. I desire to. So the things like I guess I desire for if we stick with like my food eating example, right? I desire that I eat sustainably. Why do I desire that? I desire it because I want the ocean to be healthy and great and exist for a long time beyond me, and I do not want to be somebody that harms it, right? And the same with the planet. So I guess I desire to not do harm to the planet or do as little harm as I can. How does that? What is my value? What is the attached value to that? Like,
your values would be something akin to like.
I value nature. I value the earth.
Yeah, like I mean, you can't experience the earth like physically. Like the earth is a concept to you. You get to experience little slices of it, but the earth and the environment are sort of like these conceptual spheres that you have, and those are your values. Values are like conceptual spheres, where your desires are the things you actually do. So you actually choose not to, eat meat sometimes, or you choose not to eat McDonald's because of their trawling.
Because they bottom trawl. I won't eat
So
McDonald's.
your desires inform what you actually do. Your values are like your concepts and how you articulate, your actions as concepts.
So how does my choosing not to eat at McDonald's create my valuing of Earth? Because you're saying that my desires shape my values, but that value
your desire is not to do harm, is what you said. And by not doing harm, you've created a value, which is a concept, which is, the environment has health, and you do things to not negatively impact the environment.
I would say she values like compassion or respect.
Well, I'm taking what she said for face value, which is not to do harm. Your desire is to not to do harm, and I guess maybe it will extend that to do good. Kind of like a life coach. It's not enough to not do harm, but to do good. Maybe that's your desire. And it manifests in certain ways and certain actions by choosing not to eat meat, which turns into a value, which is your concept of that. Like, how do you articulate that as a generalized concept, which could be something akin to the golden rule: treat others how you want to be treated, or treat the earth how you would like to be treated. Those are concepts and values. So like what I'm really getting at is that a value is something that you that is able to articulate or put into words or to reason about, whereas a value or sorry, not a value, a desire is something you actually do and how you act before you even put it into words.
I
think
guess
it's
a little bit.
similar.
I'm on the fence with that. Go ahead.
So in psychology, there's thoughts, feelings, right? These are two separate things: thoughts, feelings, and then we could say action or behavior. And there's a lot of like, well, which comes first? And I don't know if there's an actual definitive answer. If there is, it's incorrect for me because I experience both. Sometimes I have a thought, it drives a feeling, and then it drives an action. Other times I have no idea what I'm thinking and I have emotion hit and I do not know what it's about. And so I think it's the same. I think it can be either or, the value or the desire.
All the women in the room like, yes, that
Could
happened.
come first. It just, I think they can, right? This is the mystery of human beings. We're not able.
We should add hormones to those. The fourth one
We're
is
not as
hormones.
formulaic as we would like to break ourselves down scientifically to be. I think it can go either way. Personally.
Yeah, I agree. Now that I'm on that side, because I feel like, you know, having to choose one way or the other way doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel like it's what humans do. I feel like what humans are we're messy and we don't go just one direction or another direction. We kind of go all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, you know,
Anthony may not be
many
messy,
forms.
but the rest of us.
Anthony might be 1 + 1 = 2.
You could like boys, you could like girls, you could like both, you could like all the things.
And in truth, as humans, we are all made up of different things. And Anthony speaks a truth. I feel like it's a truth, but I don't feel like it fits my truth. And that's the thing to be aware of.
It's a chicken and egg situation. I think we're in a chicken and an egg situation, right? Like that's what we're doing. And so we're kind of, but I think what we can't argue is that both the egg and the chicken exists, right? And the egg and the chicken are important. And what's important for us as coaches is to help our clients identify those values, identify those beliefs, those motivators, the actions they are doing, why they are doing them. And then in that clarity, it helps them to figure out what they want, and then how to get what they want, and how to act in order to get what they want. And that's where that is important, right? Like whittling down what they want helps them decide how to act. And then applying value to that want is what ensures that they want it and helps keep them motivated to keep working towards that desire, that, you know, whatever it is they have chosen. Whereas if it's too ethereal and out here and we haven't whittled those important pieces down, that's why it's built into the competencies, then you end up having somebody that often doesn't achieve their goals or doesn't do what they want or doesn't, and not that there has to be a goal attached to any of this. We are going to have wants without goals. That is just the nature of being human. So, but it's important for us as a coach to start to identify the chicken, identify the egg, and then ask, you know, how our client feels about that and why.
And the major questions for that are, what makes that important to you? Or why is that important to you? Tell me about why that's important. And then also, what does that give you? What do you get from that? What does that give you? What do you get from that? You just keep going until all of a sudden you get down to, I'll feel worthy, like something like really deep, you know?
Oh my God, so many times. It's like, no, I'll feel worthy. I'll have peace. I'll have like the big epiphany.
I'll be able to die happy. Like it just keeps going and going and going. And that's where the real, that's where the real value is finding that.
Yeah.
Which eventually you'll get to the point where you're going to really find out if you're client is an optimist or a pessimist, where they're like, oh, once I achieve this, I'll be happy. I'll be fulfilled for the rest of my life. Or they may come to the realization that, oh, I might just end up wanting something else, and I'll just gonna be stuck on this treadmill. That they'll try to find a way to get off that hedonic treadmill, either by finding a purpose that goes above and beyond, them, that transcendent piece that was talked about in the podcast.
I think that's growth, though. I think, growth can feel like that until it's not for you. Like, I'm going this direction of a yoga teacher training. Is that for me? I don't know. I'm not even 100% sure why I'm doing it, other than I know it's growth. I have some hopes that I'm going to take from it and what that's going to mean to me. But I'm also doing it somewhat blindly, because in the end, I don't have an out and out goal. I mean, I think it adds tools to my toolbox, and I think it only perpetuates my continued growth, but I don't know what I'm going to do with it.
So you're not attached to the outcome. You're in it for the experience and the
I'm a little attached to the outcome because there's an exam.
So you have to pass.
I think that if we were coaching with Lisa, we could get into applying a value to the reason she's doing that, right? And that's going to not be probably anything that's right there on the surface. There's going to be something deeper that is motivating her that maybe she hasn't identified, or maybe she has
identified that she values personal growth. She said that.
Yeah,
so
personal
we got
growth.
at least a little piece of it.
I want to say one of the things Anthony mentioned is like being on the hedonic treadmill and always wanting. I don't think we ever reach a point in our lives where we want for nothing. I don't think that is how human beings work. I think we are always kind of wanting something. I mean, yes.
I was about to say, there's probably a couple billion people out there who disagree.
To rise above and transcend that desire, right? But I think that they have a want too. I dare say, and that is not to want. And so they are. There is always this. That is just part of who we are. Where it becomes different is when we find that greater want, right? And that greater want is what can bring us peace. Like, I just want to know, I want to leave this earth, as good or better than I found it in some small way. And that can be something that I can work towards and keep doing in little ways for the rest of my life. Like, it doesn't have a concrete end to it. I can find ways to keep doing that until the day I die. And feel fulfilled as I do that. Being creative, that I want to create things for the rest of my life, and that's never going to go away. I'm always going to want to be creating something or supporting somebody else in creating something. And that is part of who I am and what my greater wants are. And that's not going to and it doesn't feel like a treadmill. It feels like a purpose. And that's the difference, right? Yeah.
There is a difference between the treadmill and purpose, for sure. Anthony may disagree, but
that's what I always do. It's my whole.
There's a great Avenue Q song about it. If you go out and listen to Avenue Q, everybody.
That's my purpose on this live, is to just disagree with everyone. And with that, if you want to find your true purpose and calling in life, it's probably being a life coach and taking our Coaching 101 and 102 class. Don't take therapy. If you're suffering the grind, become a life coach, and then tell others to become life coaches, and continue doing that forever.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, or you can help people be not ego motivated and be motivated to help others and become a life coach with our Coaching 101 and 102 class.
Most of the people who come and take our classes have that value of helping others.
I was just talking to a lady today on the phone who had that value. A really awesome conversation. I hope she takes class and eventually watches this video. But with that, We'll sign off. Thank you guys for joining us for CLCI Live on Wednesdays now, 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment, and we will catch you again next week with a different topic on.
And with Jerome back.
Yeah, Jerome will be back. That'll be lovely. And we miss you, Jerome. And yeah, we might not be. We're not in a 101 right now, so it's a wild card time at CLCI. Could be anything next week. Who knows? We like a little chaos now.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right. Bye.